Why is there two different versions of Caleb and Sophia? Lately, when I've been looking at all these Caleb and Sophia videos, I noticed that apparently there's two different versions. And at first, when I came across what you see on the top row, I thought I was going crazy for a minute because I thought something definitely does not seem right with the way that they look. I actually thought it was a Mandela effect. I really thought I was going crazy for a minute because the video I was looking at, they all look different. So then when I had to look at other episodes to make sure that I wasn't just seeing things, well, it's very clear when you look at the top row and the bottom row that there's two different versions of Caleb and Sophia. So the question is why? And the top row that says dark, when I say dark, I don't mean dark as in their skin is darker, which their skin is darker, but I say dark because the other version that's on the top seems to be a lot more dark in spirit. Whereas you can see the newer version of Caleb and Sophia looks more friendly, I would say. So why is there two different versions of Caleb and Sophia? So if you go to the Jehovah's Friends section, I'm assuming that these videos are in order from the newest to the oldest. So assuming that if you go all the way to the very bottom, so when I looked at these two different versions of Caleb and Sophia, it seems that just the first two episodes are the ones that have a different version of them. And then what looks to be the fourth episode is when they change it. Now the third episode is like a cartoonish song. It's not really an episode. So basically, just after two episodes, they drastically change the way that they look. And the question is why? So you can clearly see it's not even the same character. I mean, I'm sorry, it is the same character, but you can see that the appearance is completely different. Like they're playing the same person, but they're not even close. They don't look nothing alike. Now, the reason I asked the question and I'm making a big deal about why is there two versions is because, as I've been saying in the last three episodes, that Watchtower follows a pattern. And once you see the pattern and understand the pattern that they use, they repeat the same behavior. So this is just an example of when they drastically change things quickly. See, anytime the Watchtower does something quick, it's never for a good reason. So why would they change Caleb and Sophia just after two episodes? Well, it's similar to this brochure, and I'm just going to go over this real quick for those who haven't seen the video that I did on this. But basically, Watchtower put out this brochure that was extremely racist, and the black guy in the cover looks like a crackhead. And as you can see on the left, that when this racist brochure got exposed, they drastically changed the whole brochure. The first thing they did was they changed the cover because obviously they don't want the crackhead on the front of the cover. And in this brochure, there was an extremely racist scene where they showed a black guy with a stick in his hand, swinging it at his wife with the kids right there, not even caring if his kids possibly get hit with the bat, right? And it's extremely racist. It's like showing a deadbeat black guy is what they're portraying. And there's no excuse because as you can see on the right side, they removed this image for a reason. So you see, Watchtower doesn't change things unless they're hiding something. That's just the pattern that they've always used. And then some people were saying that, oh, the reason that this brochure was full of all black people was because in African countries they have a problem with spiritism. So that's the excuse they gave of making this brochure that was all black people and these degrading situations that just made them look like scumbags. Oh, it's just because African countries have a problem with spiritism. But the problem with that is that, as you can see on the right side, once again, Watchtower hastily changed the brochure. So what they did was they started to take the black people out of it and replace them with different nationalities. Now, why would they do that? Why would they go out of their way to now say that we have to take some of these black people and put other nationalities in there? Well, obviously to hide the fact that it's a racist brochure. And you can see that why would they replace this black woman with an Asian woman? And here's another example of it's the same exact page. They just decided it was way too obvious how racist it was, so they had to take some of the black people out and put different nationalities in there. But I didn't want to sidetrack too much. If you want to see more information on this subject, I have a video on my page titled Watchtower's Racist Undisputed Evidence. Now, the reason I just wanted to bring that up is because we all know about the songbook and other things that they've covered up. So Watchtower does not drastically make changes hastily unless they're covering something up. That is the pattern. So why would they change this whole entire family in just after 2 episodes? Now, one thing to understand about this is that this cannot be confused as, say, a pilot episode. You see, what a pilot episode is if somebody makes a TV show or cartoon and it may only be like one episode, and then they want to give it to a TV network to see if the TV network will approve it. And then sometimes when a TV network approves it, they may simply say, well, you need to make a few adjustments. So sometimes the pilot episodes may be slightly different, but that's because there's a third party involved. That the makers of the TV show are trying to get a third party to put it on their network. So sometimes that would explain why they would change something in just after maybe one episode. But you see, this doesn't apply to Watchtower because there is no third party. The governing body approved these first 2 episodes of Caleb and Sophia. So it isn't like after a third party they had to change anything. So if the governing body approved the way that these characters look, then what were they so afraid of that they had to drastically, completely disregard the animation they came up with and have to make a whole new version and just after 2 episodes? Now, this is where I'm going to speculate a little bit. So, these first 2 episodes, when I did research on this, apparently these were the first 2 episodes that they used when they released it as a DVD. Now, I remember this very clearly because this was the convention that I got baptized at when they released this, and this was 2012 that they released this Caleb and Sophia DVD. So this other version of Caleb and Sophia, again, it was approved by the governing body, right? They approved it. And those of you who drove as witnesses, to you, that means that Jehovah approved it. So it becomes even more strange on why did they have to change the characters so quick? So this is what I'm going to speculate on why I think that they did this. So I remember when his DVD came out, again, it was 2012, and so basically this was not supposed to be for the ministry, but you know how witnesses get so excited. So I remember pioneers, they would basically say how, oh yeah, I know somebody that has kids and I gave them to become Jehovah's Friend, right? DVD. So pioneers were giving this to people who had kids because they were so proud of, oh look, they have something for kids. So on return visits, people who had kids, they were placing this like literature. And I'm pretty sure that this was never approved to give out to the public. But you know how witnesses are, they get excited about this. But here's the problem with that. You see, because witnesses are very naive on what this organization is all about, They think that if they give this to somebody that has children, that is praising Jehovah, like, oh, look, we got something for children. They don't understand that a normal person who's not brainwashed, if they play this garbage, they're going to think something is seriously wrong with all the subliminal messages and just the very dark element of this cartoon. But I know witnesses again who they literally gave this to people who had children and thought it was something to brag about. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if people in this organization even dropped them off at daycare centers. I could literally see pioneers doing that, going to a daycare center and saying, hey, we got free videos for your kids. And witnesses not know that that's really going to backfire. So, where I'm going with this is that this is still on the Guardian website. So you can look up that famous Guardian article when they exposed that Watchtower is part of the United Nations. Now, it's important to understand what happened with this. So basically, when the Guardian discovered that the Watchtower was part of the United Nations, they posted this article basically saying, what is this religious organization doing with the United Nations? So 24 hours after the Guardian posted the article, they put out the United Nations. What would cause this organization to act that quick, to be so terrified that within 24 hours they pulled their membership from the United Nations? Now, make no mistake about it, they didn't do this because of witnesses. Witnesses will do what they're told. They're so brainwashed, they'll do what they're told. They can make an announcement today saying we're part of the UN, and the witnesses aren't going to say nothing about it because that's how strong the brainwashing is. So they didn't pull out so quickly because they're afraid of Jehovah's Witnesses seeing this. It's the fact that it exposes to the outside that there's something seriously wrong with this organization because Jehovah's Witnesses claim to be one certain way. So when this Guardian article exposed this and said, hey, what are they doing at the United Nations? And now the whole world is going to ask that question. Forget about the witnesses who are brainwashed. This is why they acted so quick because basically the wrong person found out, right? It wasn't like a so-called apostate found out that they're United Nations and they pulled out. They're not going to pull out because of a so-called apostate, but they will pull out that quick if you have a magazine like The Guardian that exposes this. So where I'm getting with this, with my theory is that witnesses got so excited telling everybody, oh, look, we got something for children. And they started giving this out to people. And this is something that's circulating. I think that the wrong person seen this video, analyzed it, and maybe started raising some questions. And it's just my theory. So I think that that's why they hastily changed the characters because the wrong person seen it. Just like the Guardian was the wrong people to find out that they're part of the United Nations. Now that's just a theory that I have, but clearly there are two completely different versions of Caleb and Sophia. And clearly, after the governing body already approved it, something happened. Somebody seen something, and they felt they had to drastically change it. And this follows the pattern of Watchtower. They don't change things that quick unless they're hiding something. So let me just show you now what I found in these first two. Well, I'm only going to discuss this first one. I didn't really have time to analyze the second one, but I'm going to show you what I found in one of these darker versions of Caleb and Sophia that is very subliminal and something that I think other people would question. So if you go to this video, lesson one, obey your parents. Now I'm just going to play it and then I'm going to pause it and explain why I'm showing you this. So the first question I want to ask is why was she on her hand and knees with a scrub bucket like a slave? Right? Now let me just play that again. Can she not go to the dollar store and get a mop for $1? Right? I mean, those of you who are women who are still in this organization, is this what your elder husband makes you do? Does your elder husband make you get on your hands and knees like a slave in a scrub bucket to clean the entire house? Right? She can't go to the dollar store and get a mop for $1. But then notice the look on her face when she gets up. She looks like an emotionally drained woman whose husband just made her get on her hands and knees and clean the entire house. Why does she look like that? She looks seriously depressed. Now, for those that think I'm making a big deal out of this, let me just show you a comparison because you know how these subliminal messages work, they're very subtle. So if you think I'm making a big deal out of nothing, well, explain this to me. Why is she in the exact pose as Cinderella, right? Even the scrub bucket, right? You see, Watchtower didn't forget the scrub bucket. You see, when they put these subliminal messages in here, they always have to do it in a way where there's no question about what they're doing. So they're basically putting her in a position of Cinderella. Now, the bottom right is actually Snow White. Snow White has a very similar story to Cinderella, except her story's a little bit worse. And in her story, her evil stepmother actually tries to murder her. But Snow White was also abused and having to be on her hands and knees cleaning all day long. So, and again, for why is she on her hands and knees like that? Again, she can't go to the dollar store and get a mop for $1. Now, if you think that this is just a coincidence, right? That I paused it at the scene and it just happens to be the exact pose of Cinderella. Well, notice this comparison of of a little clip of Cinderella. Is that just a coincidence? Right? So number one, she's on her hands and knees with a scrub bucket like Cinderella, and even her being exhausted when she gets up, right? Because her abuser basically made her clean the entire house on her hands and knees, and she's absolutely exhausted. Even the way she's, like kind of like wiping her head is just like Cinderella. But if you still think that this is just, if you're still in denial about this, let me show you further proof that they're indeed putting Caleb's mom subliminally in the position of Cinderella. Now, most Jehovah's Witnesses are not familiar with Cinderella because they're not allowed to watch Walt Disney movies, right? Because Disney has to do with magic. So for witnesses that don't know the story of Cinderella, let me just show you a little clip to explain why she's on her hands and knees cleaning, to see the abuse that Cinderella has to go through.
Here.
Oh, please, you don't think that I
Hold your
want to...
tongue.
Now,
It's It seems we have time on our hands.
But I was only trying to...
Silence! Time for vicious, practical jokes. Perhaps we can put it to better use. Now, let me see. There's the large carpet in the main hall. Clean it. And the windows upstairs and down. Wash them. Oh, yes, and the tapestries and the draperies.
But I just finished...
Do them again. And don't forget the garden. Then scrub the terrace, sweep the halls and the stairs, clean the chimneys. And, of course, there's the mending and the sewing and the laundry. Oh, yes. And one more thing. See that Lucifer gets his bath.
I'm sorry. It's kind of interesting that the cat's name is Lucifer, right? But I'll get into that later. So as you can see, Cinderella has the same depressed look on her face when she has to clean the entire house on her knees, right? You see, for Jehovah's Witnesses that don't understand the story of Cinderella, the reason she's on her knees cleaning like that is because she's being abused and treated cruelly. So what is the hidden message that Watchtower wants to put Caleb's mom subliminally in this position? Is this just another disrespect towards women? Right now, I did 2 videos on my page that broke down in detail how this organization really feels about women, how they gaslight and degrade women. Right? So is this just another reference to the train young Jehovah's Witness children that that's the place of a woman on her hands and knees at her husband's will? I mean, I don't know, right? That could be one angle they're going at. But let me show you even further proof of this whole Cinderella theme that they're subliminally putting in this JW cartoon. So the theme of this particular Caleb and Sophia episode, it has to do with Caleb is basically after his mom was on her hands and knees cleaning the entire house like a slave. He then runs into the house being careless and gets footprints all over the spotless clean floor that the mother was just on her hands and knees cleaning. Right? So that's the theme. But notice when the father approaches Caleb on making the shoe marks on the floor, notice how they show Caleb's mother when Caleb imagines how upset his mother's going to be when his mother sees that she has to clean the floor again.
We're clear for landing. Yeah!
Caleb! Did Mommy tell you to take off your shoes?
Yes.
Mom worked very hard to clean the house today. How will she feel when she sees this?
So this is a scene directly out of Cinderella, period. Now, of course, it's always portrayed different. It's not always portrayed with her crying like that. But this is a scene in Cinderella when she finds out that she now has to clean the entire house all over again because somebody was being careless. But let me just show you this particular part of the Cinderella story so you have a better idea what I'm saying.
Oh, Lucifer! You mean old thing? I'm just going to have to teach you a lesson.
So what you can see is that after Cinderella, with her scrub bucket, just like Caleb's mom had the scrub bucket, after she's almost done cleaning the house, the cat named Lucifer, by chance, purposely makes footprints all over the floor. So now Cinderella now has to clean all those footprints off the floor when she spent the entire day on her hands and knees cleaning like a slave. So how many coincidences do we need to show before a Jehovah's Witness can clearly just flat out admit that there's no question that this is Cinderella that they're putting in this Caleb and Sophia video? What are the statistical odds? Not only is she on her hands and knees cleaning like a slave, not only does she look depressed when she finds out she has to clean everything all over again, not only does she wipe her head the same way of it being completely exhausted, that the same plot of the cat making footprints after she just spent the entire day on her hands and knees cleaning. And does anybody think that's a coincidence? That's impossible. It's the same exact story in Cinderella. Now I know there's different versions of Cinderella. I can't say that all of them have the same scene with the cat, but this is the one Watchtower clearly decided to use. So there's a lot of problems with this. You see, at this point, witnesses could try to defend this and say, okay, so what? Yeah, they copied Cinderella. Okay, they shouldn't have done it. They're imperfect. But this goes a lot darker and deeper than them copying Cinderella. So now let me break down exactly why this is so sinister. Now, to break this down, if we go to the second video with this darker version of Caleb and Sophia called Obey Jehovah, notice what Caleb's mom tells Caleb about his toy that's a magical toy.
Is this toy magical?
Mm-hmm.
Caleb, who likes magic? Jehovah or Satan?
Satan.
Right. Magic is bad. That's why Jehovah hates it. Do you really want to play with something that Jehovah hates?
So you heard it right from right out of Caleb's mom's mouth, right? Who loves magic, Jehovah or Satan? Right? You see, because to Jehovah's Witnesses, this is a black and white issue with magic. It's only either two options, Jehovah or Satan. Right? So while they're teaching in the very next Caleb and Sophia episode that magic is satanic, right? It's very clear. And while they tell Jehovah's Witnesses to have nothing to do with magic and don't let your kids have anything to do with magic, they're using Disney Magic Kingdom programming in the video right in front of your face. Disney Magic Kingdom. Do you see the level of, I mean, I can't even think of the word to describe this organization. We already know that they're evil, but do you see the fakeness? This has to be the fakest organization on an entire existence of this planet. Is there another organization as big as Jehovah's Witnesses that is as fake as they are? But notice how clever this is, right? So this is how clever this whole thing is. They can tell Jehovah's Witnesses, don't let your kids watch Disney Magic Kingdom movies, right? Have nothing to do with Disney. So by not letting Jehovah's Witnesses watch Disney movies, they can put it right in front of their face because the witnesses have nothing to compare it to. They don't know the story of Cinderella. So they can even put it so specific, even to the footprints on the floor. And witnesses don't know because they're not allowed to watch Disney Magic Kingdom movies. It's just like the video I did on the movie about Lot's wife. They tell Jehovah's Witnesses, oh, all horror movies are demonic. Never watch horror movies. So the witnesses never watch horror movies. So then when they came up with this movie about Lot's wife, they designed the whole movie after a horror movie. And the witnesses have nothing to compare it to, so they didn't even know why they were jumping up at the convention, getting scared over it. Right? And again, that just again it shows the pattern. It's the same pattern. So here it is. And you heard Caleb's mom herself say it. right? Who loves magic, right? Jehovah or Satan? And then they're using Disney Magic Kingdom. So that's the first thing wrong with this, but it gets worse. So the second thing wrong with this is the fact of the cat's name is Lucifer, right? Now, obviously, witnesses know that the people that made this JW cartoon, I mean, if they copied the specific example of the cat making the footprints on the floor, they obviously know the cat's name is Lucifer when they watched it. Now, is that just a coincidence? Well, I don't know. If you watched my last three videos, should we be surprised that the cat's name is Lucifer, that there's a reference like that? But to break this down, why that's even more sinister and evil is because Caleb is playing the part of Lucifer, right? That is the character that they have Caleb subliminally portraying, Lucifer. Right now, again, if you've seen the last three videos I did, should it surprise us that they're putting a reference like Lucifer that's connected with Caleb? I mean, I don't know. Do they really just not like Caleb? Right? I mean, all these references to the devil connected with Caleb. So one, they got Caleb in the position of Lucifer. That's the second problem. The third problem, and this is what Jehovah's Witnesses don't understand, is that the reason that Cinderella's on her knees like that is because she's being abused. The whole idea is that when she cleans the entire house, there cannot be one little spot, right? One little spot. So you know what? A broom at the dollar store isn't going to work, or a mop at the dollar store isn't going to work because there can't be one little speck of spot. That's why she needs to be on her hands and knees like a slave. But she's in that position because she's being abused. So what is the message that Watchtower is sending its members with this video? Right? What are, besides degrading women like that, because this is just another form of them degrading women, they're sending a message of abuse. Now, the fourth thing wrong with this is that to understand the story of Cinderella, she's on her hands and knees because she's being abused by her stepmother or grandmother, whoever it is. So Caleb is in the position of Lucifer. The mom is in a position of Snow White being abused. So the fact that the grandmother is the one that's abusing Cinderella, who is the abuser that's got Caleb's mom on her hands and knees like a slave? The JW husband. This is the subliminal message that they're sending. They're sending a message of abuse. Now, anybody that thinks this is a stretch, let me just be honest with you about this. There are tons of elders who are very abusive to their wives. In fact, I know of one situation where their sister was telling me that she had an elder husband who was abusive through their whole marriage. They had children and everything. And it finally got to the point where I think when he put his hands on her, that's when she just divorced him. She divorced him without scriptural divorce. She wasn't having it. But he was an elder for a very long time. So many people in this organization, they know that there's a lot of elders who are abusive, and not just elders, there's other men too that are abusive, but this organization has a lot of abuse. And especially if a sister's married to an elder, he's like untouchable, right? So it's not a stretch at all that when you look at what they're portraying subliminally, well, the only reason why Cinderella's on the ground like that is because she's being abused. So the message they're sending is that this family, this Caleb and Sophia family, the original version, was a very dark version with an abusive husband. And a woman's place is on her hands and knees like a slave, and she can't go to the dollar store and get a mop for $1. Now, when I mentioned abuse, another thing is that when you look at her face when she gets up, it looks very humanoid. And what I mean by humanoid is that it's a cartoon. If she's sad, she should just look sad like a cartoon sad. So on the left side, that's the newer version of Caleb's mom, and she looks sad. That's more of a cartoonish type of sad look. But the one on the right side that we're looking at, that's more humanoid. Like they made her look like an abused, battered woman. I mean, look at that detail. For you who are women watching this, if you went to work and one of your coworkers walked in looking like that, what are you going to think? You're going to think she got an abusive husband. And my question is, why would they put that level of detail to make her look like a depressed, battered woman? And if you think that I'm exaggerating, well, as you can see, they changed it for a reason, right? In a newer version of Caleb and Sophia, now they can make her look like a normal cartoon sad. Now, when I said humanoid, this is an example of what I'm saying. So these are pictures depicted online of abused women, right? And I mean, they are acting, so it's not basically real footage to say. But do you see what I mean with Caleb's mom? She looks like a battered woman. It's a certain look that women have that are in abusive relationships. Why did they make her look like that? Right? I mean, it goes right along with the fact that she's on her hands and knees like abused Cinderella. And as you can see, when they changed the Caleb and Sophia and made a lighter version, now when Caleb's mom looks sad, she doesn't look like a battered woman. And just as a side point, I know when I mentioned in one of my previous videos about how Caleb's mom wasn't wearing a bra and that, you can see her breasts jiggling around. And some people didn't quite see it, but just to explain what I meant more when I brought this up in another video, if you look at Cinderella, that is how children's toddlers cartoons should look. There's no reason to have the detail of anybody's breast jiggling around showing that she doesn't have a bra. That's how a normal cartoon looks. So just for Jehovah's Witnesses that are watching this is how a cartoon for toddlers should look. There shouldn't be any movement. But anyway, going back to this particular video. So when you look at Caleb, again, this look where he gets in trouble, it looks very humanoid. He looks like an abused child. I mean, look at his face. If you're a woman watching this, if you ever worked in a school system, if you were a school teacher and one of your children looked like this, what would you think? You'd probably think there's some serious problems going on at home, right? He looks extremely sad, like a humanoid sad, like an abused child. And if you think that I'm seeing things, well, as you can see, when they change Caleb and Sophia, now when they make Caleb look sad, as you can see on the left, he looks like a cartoon sad, right? You see, it's not even close. You look at the one on the left, and it's like, okay, it's a cartoon sad kid. But this other version, he looks like an abused child. So why did they make him like that? Well, clearly they knew that something was wrong, which is why they drastically changed the way that he looks. Now, when I mentioned the fact that the father is playing the part of the abuser, notice when he approaches Caleb, what he does is he kind of I can't think of the word to explain it. He kind of like jolts forward, like kind of thrusts at Caleb, right? Like it's almost like he's about to hit Caleb. Like you'll notice how he moves forward. He moves forward very aggressively. And again, it's subliminal, so it's kind of hard to catch. But notice how he kind of thrusts his body forward towards Caleb, like he's about to hit him.
Did Mommy tell you to take off your shoes?
Yes.
Now, I know it's very subtle, but let me play it again. Just notice how he moves in almost like he's going to hit him.
Did Mommy tell you to take off your shoes?
Yes.
Now, when you pause his expressions, now keep in mind, this is a cartoon, so everything is drawn in, right? It's not like a human actor where maybe a certain face got caught by accident. Every frame is drawn in. So when you slow it down and look at his face, he looks like an abuser, right? This looks like a mean father that's going to hit Caleb. Why does he look like that? And again, if you think that I'm exaggerating and I'm seeing things, we'll notice in the newer version of Caleb and Sophia how the father looks when Caleb gets in trouble.
What happened?
Nothing.
Hmm. Caleb, do you know why Jehovah wants us to tell the truth?
Do you see how he gently, slowly walked as he was carrying Caleb? Right? See, not like the thrust forward like he's going to hit Caleb. Now, for those who maybe had normal parents growing up, you may not see what I'm talking about, but personally, like I had an abusive father. So my father looked like the one on the right side. And that's what he would do to scare me and my brother. He would thrust forward like that, like he's gonna hit us, and sometimes he would. Right. So I don't expect everybody to see that. But if you think I'm exaggerating, again, you can see the difference with the other version of Caleb and Sophia. They drastically change how he interacts with Caleb. Right. So why would they change that? Unless they know that this other version, there was something wrong with it. So what I conclude, and now I'm just speculating, but understanding that Watchtower follows a pattern and everything is deliberate, there's nothing in here by mistake. Everything they do is meant to have a subliminal effect. So it's very clear that they're using the Cinderella story. That's undisputed, right? Even the footprints from the cat named Lucifer, right? So what I'm thinking is that this original version of Caleb and Sophia was meant to be something very dark. I think subliminally there was going to be little signs like we see in this episode that Caleb is an abused child, the father's a narcissist, an abusive narcissist, and the wife is a battered woman that needs to be on her hands and knees cleaning, and she's not allowed to go to the dollar store and get a mop for $1. But I think this was basically the theme of Caleb and Sophia. It was going to be something in the background, like little subliminal signs of an abused family. And again, everybody knows that there's lots of elders that are very abusive behind closed doors. Everybody knows that in this religion. In fact, there's a lot of abuse in this religion because women are told they're not allowed to divorce. Even if the husband is abusive, they can't divorce him. They're told that, right? So you get a lot of abuse in this religion. But whether you agree with my theory or not, that the original Caleb and Sophia was meant to be an abusive family, what is clear is that they hastily changed it for a reason. The governing body already approved this other version of Caleb and Sophia, even to the point where they made DVDs worldwide, right? So something happened that made them feel like we got to change this before anybody notices it, just like the Black Guy in a Songbook and everything else that they do. And it is also a fact that clearly they're using the story of Cinderella, which is the Magic Kingdom. And we already know what Jehovah's Witnesses feel about magic. Hey, Kayla's mom said it herself, right? Who loves magic, right? Satan or Jehovah. And another thing sick about this episode is that I don't remember the end, but basically the other episode when Caleb had the magic toy, at the end of the episode, he has to throw the toy away. And I don't remember him getting a new toy. right? And that just shows you how sick these people are. That like if you're gonna make a lesson where he's got to throw away the toy because it's magic, shouldn't he been got another toy? Shouldn't his mom said, okay, here's a toy that we approve of? And when Jehovah's Witnesses were passing this DVD out to people, bragging about it, oh look, we have something for kids. Oh look, here's something for your children. What is attractive about this cartoon that kids are gonna enjoy? Right? Do Jehovah's Witnesses not understand that cartoons are supposed to be pleasurable for children? Do they not understand that cartoons are supposed to be fun? In fact, I remember I used to like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now I know Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was not, for toddlers, but Ninja Turtles was fun, right? You need to have cartoons that are fun that kids enjoy watching. What lesson? How is this fun for children? Oh, Caleb gets a toy. Oh, who likes magic, Caleb? Satan or Jehovah? Satan, and then he's got to throw the toy away. That's fun, right? And this is what witnesses didn't understand, that we're giving this DVD out to people, embarrassing themselves because people who aren't brainwashed, they're going to look at this Caleb and Sophia DVD. They're going to be like, what the hell's wrong with you people, right? I mean, again, nobody told witnesses that cartoons are supposed to be fun. There's nothing appealing about this. And you see a glimpse of Sophia in the first episode, and you can tell she's different too, but I don't see an episode with a dark version of Sophia. Who knows? Maybe they deleted it because they deleted the disfellowshipping video, right? So if there's another one of these versions with Sophia in it that they deleted, we're not going to know about it because they delete things in secret anyway. But clearly, they know the cat's name is Lucifer, and they got the mom on her hands and knees as a slave. And when you know the story of Cinderella, and you know how many elders abuse their wives in this religion, what they're clearly showing you is that this Caleb and Sophia version is an abused family.